This is an RNZ podcast.
Bonjour mes amis, je m'appelle Ben Strang. This is RNZ's Paris Essentials podcast, bringing you the latest news and interviews from the Paris Olympic Games. A bit of a quieter night for New Zealand overnight, but that's because they didn't really have the chance to truly dominate and get into those medal races. They have prepped themselves for them though, looking very, very good in the kayaking and in the track cycling. Starting with the kayaking, Dame Lisa Carrington looks ominous. She looks like she's there to dominate again. In the K4 500 metre team, they directly qualified for the final with the fastest time in the heats. Dame Lisa also teamed up with Alicia Hoskin in the K2 500 metre semi-final. They're through to the semi-finals, made it through their quarter-final. Amy Fisher and Lucy Matahaere are less lucky. They couldn't make it into the semi-finals, finished fifth in their quarter, so didn't progress. The men's K4 500 metres and the K2 500 metres are also through to the semi-finals. On that K4, this is a complicated and interesting story, but they had better do well, is probably the best way to put it. New Zealand entered a C2 canoe sprint team for the first time into the Olympics, Max Brown and Grant Clancy, and they did not do well. The winner of their quarterfinal finished in 1 minute 38 seconds over the 500 metre distance. Brown and Clancy came home 2 minutes and 24 seconds, 46 seconds back. The comparison was that when the winners were coming across the line, they were still 200 metres behind. So not a good performance at all, but they don't usually go in that boat. New Zealand only qualified that boat through an Oceania regatta where only 3 boats were entered, and the New Zealand team beat out a 70-year-old and a 60-year-old to win. So not exactly elite competition. And the reason they did enter it is New Zealand didn't qualify a K4 boat, but they found this quirk, which meant that they could enter these extra 2 athletes, which gave them the ability to have a K4. So, yes, it's nice to have competition at the Olympics, like it's great to be competing, but the C2 certainly isn't their event. And it means that, well, if they don't succeed in the K4, then it's a bit farcical, isn't it? So very interested to hear your thoughts. We're going to hear more on that soon with Dana Johansson, but also the track cyclists. The women's team pursuiters, Ali Wollaston, Bryony Borta, Emily Sherman and Nicole Shields, they set a new national record and were very close to the world record in their qualifying round. So they were half a second ahead of the United States, 2 seconds ahead of Great Britain, the great British team. They look really, really good in the track cycling. So later tonight we're going to see if they do indeed qualify for the gold medal final, and then that would be tomorrow morning. Fingers crossed for them. But let's start with this kayaking drama. We've got the good and the bad. The good being Dame Lisa Carrington and co. just looking dominant in the 4, and the bad being this C2 debacle. Dana Johansson explained it all to Ingrid Hipkiss on Morning Report.
A pretty typically clinical performance from Dame Lisa and the K4 and K2 crews. The K4 team is straight through to the final on Thursday evening New Zealand time, and the K2 qualified directly into the semi-finals there. Now this is all good news for Dame Lisa Carrington because she has a very big workload at this regatta. She also has the K1 coming up at the single boat that the heats get underway tomorrow. So this all helps keep her workload down and means she's racing as fewer races as possible. You mentioned Amy Fisher and Lucy Matahaere there. They did not qualify for the semi-finals, but Amy Fisher is another one that's eyeing up that single boat and is on track for a showdown with Carrington in the final, where there's a potential for a 1-2 finish for New Zealand. So, yeah, that's what everyone's sort of waiting for it on the course out there.
So what we might not have been expecting, though, was the performance of the C2 crew. Talk us through what happened there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a complicated story. So for those that don't know the difference between a K1 or a K2 and a C2, essentially if there's a K in front of it, it means they're in a kayak. If there's a C in front of it, it's a canoe, and that's where they kind of kneel in the boat and have one paddle, and it looks quite painful, to be frank. So it's not really a sport that New Zealand has a pedigree in. We do not compete it at club level, but somehow we've found ourselves racing it at the Olympics, and that's due to a quirk in the international body's qualification rules for the Olympics. So at the start of this Olympic cycle, Canoe Racing New Zealand circled the men's K4 as the event it really wanted to prioritise for these games. The only problem was New Zealand did not manage to directly qualify the boat for Paris, so they sort of found a little bit of a loophole and managed to get those 4 quota spots by qualifying a K2, so the kayak, and then a C2, so the canoe.
So how did we qualify in C2 when we're clearly not up to world standard?
So that was all through the Oceania track. So it wasn't raced at the World Champs. We went through the regional qualifying route. And again, not a big sport in Oceania as a whole, but somehow they managed to cobble together 3 crews for this race, one of them being an Australian crew made up of a 70-year-old and I think a local 45-year-old. And so they just managed to squeak over the line there and get those quota spots. But certainly the times that they did there suggested they were never going to be competitive, and that all played out on the water today, and it was quite embarrassing. You mentioned there 46 seconds the difference between the winner of that heat and the New Zealand crew. To put that in perspective, or I guess a visual representation, that was about 200 metres away in a 500-metre race, so they were significantly behind.
How has that been received there? I mean, what do they say when they perform like that?
Yeah, I guess the New Zealand team sort of say, look, this was a means to an end, but certainly some people have been raising questions around the ethics of it. The New Zealand team will say that, well, you know, these are the rules. We haven't broken any rules here, and other countries have used this as a way of qualifying their priority boats as well. Certainly, you know, it doesn't look great when they're 200 metres behind in a race and performing slower times than the women are. But certainly the crowd got behind them actually in their second race of the day. They kind of like developed this kind of Eric the Eel following.
And so when we talk about it being a means to an end, what would the, I guess, appropriate end be to justify that? What are we hoping for?
Yeah, so it was really a way of getting that a men's K4 team qualified and able to compete at the Olympics. And today that K4 team, after racing all these additional races, did manage to get through to the semi-final. And so Max Brown sort of said after the race, that just goes to show, you know, that we proved to be here, and I think we justified our place. But of course, I do wonder whether the international body will look to close this loophole, because you don't want to see races like that at an Olympic Games.
And that was Dana Johansson talking to Ingrid Hipkiss about this C2 drama. Very interested to know what you think about this, because on the one hand, people are pointing out, well, isn't it great that they're competing at the Olympics, that it's a development opportunity? But as New Zealand, are we not past that to a degree? I mean, there's so many athletes who don't get to qualify for the Games because they're deemed as not being a top 16 contender in their sport. And yet we can send a team who are so far behind the rest of the world. I mean, they absolutely look like school kids in a men's race. So very interested to hear what people think about that. Did they do the right thing? Is it down to the success of the K4 men? And if they go and win a medal, was it worth it? I'd probably say if they do win a medal, it probably was worth it, isn't it? So very, very interesting. Staying with the kayaking, but of the kayak cross variety, Finn Butcher, the gold medalist from yesterday, 24 hours on, he's had a whirlwind 24 hours. What a great human from Alexandra. He caught up with Barry Guy to talk about what his last 24 hours have been like and what he's expecting in the future.
Well, Finn, 24 hours after your gold medal, has the world opened up for you, has it?
It's pretty crazy, actually, yeah. It's funny, like, just on the way here, we're on the metro, and man, if I whip this thing out of my jacket, it was just like mayhem. So yeah, try to keep it hidden on the streets, but yeah, it's pretty crazy.
They obviously don't recognise you, but they recognise
the thing, yeah, this big shiny thing around my neck, yeah. Yeah, pretty amazing, and like the amount of support I've had from home has just been incredible. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. I'm just so proud to be from Alexandria, Central Otago and New Zealand. So
have you had a chance to think about the opportunity now? I mean, you could full-time athlete, training wherever you want, all that sort of thing.
A little bit. Sort of like, my coach Aaron's sort of been sort of putting those a little bit in conversation, and I sort of say, we'll talk about that in a few days when things calm down a wee bit. But I mean, it's obviously going to be pretty good for the future of our sport and my career, I suppose. So that's pretty cool.
And funding, you go to another level.
Hopefully, I just want to be the best in the world, and that's all part of it. You need to be able to travel and train to the best of your ability with nothing holding you back, and money's obviously a big factor in that. So hopefully that means that won't be as much of a factor now, which is pretty cool.
So is the season over for you?
Nah, it's actually not. We've got 2 more World Cups in September. So one in Italy and one in Spain.
And you stay here for that?
Yeah. Haven't decided yet if I'll shoot home for a bit.
Because I was going to say, when does the World Tour of Central Otago start?
Yeah, that's going to be the next most important thing on the calendar. So we need to find a good date for that, I think. I'm not sure yet.
We've heard plenty from your nan, so she's obviously excited and wants to see that.
I'm pretty excited to go home and show her and show the rest of the crew down there, because they've been right behind me the whole way, and basically without question they've supported me through my whole career or even my whole life with whatever I wanted to do. They're amazing, so
And I'm hoping, you'll be hoping that there's going to be more kids in those boats now.
Yeah, for sure. I hope any form of kayaking is brilliant, and to get any of it on the map with more eyes seeing it, and hopefully more people, more kids, more adults, doesn't matter, getting out in the boat and just enjoying it, because man, it's given me a heck of a lot, and given me some great friends, some awesome mentors, taught me a lot, and I'm so thankful for it. So
That was Finn Butcher talking to Barry Guy. And staying with the kayak cross and the kayak slalom, Nathan Rarere had a good sit down live on First Up this morning with Luca Jones down at New Zealand House. She's retiring. She's hanging up her paddles, which is a big shame, but she's been a heck of a servant for New Zealand. Here she is catching up with Nathan.
5 Olympic Games, Luca. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's gone pretty quickly, to be honest. Yeah, it's crazy to be here. It has. I mean, I guess when I break it down, each Olympic cycle has been so different, and different challenges and opportunities. But yeah, to be here, kind of finishing my career in Paris, is pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, so that was. Is that the last time we get to see you? Because that was incredible, that event yesterday. But this is not. Why is that? I mean, you're mid-30s. I've seen Tom Brady. He goes till he's 46 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I love the sport. I love training for it. I love competing, and the sport itself is incredible, and especially this new kayak cross discipline. But, there's so many sacrifices you have to make as an athlete, and to do canoe slalom, you have to spend up to 5 months overseas at a time. It's a European-based sport. So, I'm looking forward to kind of settling down, spending some time with my family.
Oh, great. Because was there a moment where you are, overseas somewhere and there's a bit where you go, I don't know if I've got that same drive to do it anymore?
Yeah, 100%. And in this last cycle, that was such a challenge. And I obviously, had some illnesses, and my health was not what it should have been. So, there were points where I was like, am I even going to make it back to the top? And is this what I want to be doing? And it's a tough thought to have.
Yeah, which is so weird to see, because one of the things about you all is you do have that burning drive that we don't have, which is, and also athletic ability too, of course. But, you've got that drive to get there as well. So, I mean, do you think you'll miss it? Have you had a chance to think if you'll miss it?
I'll miss it so much. Yeah, I already know that. And, I think it'll be a challenging period ahead, kind of readjusting into more of a normal life. I've spent the last 20 years heading to Europe every year pursuing this sport.
Yeah.
It's what I love. I guess having, that constant motivation and constant goals and dreams and plans. It's so special, and I'll have to readjust.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are thousands of special memories you've got. I know that one of the ones that New Zealand has, of course, is you medalling there in Rio. Is that sort of the one that you think, if you look back at it now, that does that feel like the greatest moment, or were there other things?
There are so many moments, and often it's, the people you meet and the friendships you make, but that medal in Rio certainly did a huge amount for the sport. We didn't know what would happen with canoe slalom after Rio, and suddenly there was an Olympic medal, and we got funding, and more paddlers got supported, and I'm really proud, I think, of that achievement for our sport.
Oh, it's great. I mean, like now even around Manukau, there's that Wero Park, right, where there's all sorts of white waters and that going on. The growth in the sport must be a heartening thing to see, and also the way that the world lit up yesterday watching kayak cross. Everyone was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was awesome, and to see Finn's hard work pay off yesterday, and for him to put kayak cross on the map. It was the debut event at the Olympics, and to come away with the gold and to fly our flag, it was a huge moment.
Tell me, so you're watching him in there. I'm watching that, and I thought, oh, he's off the start first. This is good, right? So tell me about your experience, because you're watching with a far more expert eye than I am. Tell me about that ride for you as you're watching your teammate down there and going, come on.
Yeah, I really had a good feeling about the final for Finn. He'd been racing well through the rounds and looked strong off the start, and the start is so important, That ramp, you have to throw your weight forward to get speed off, but if you throw it too hard, you go sideways, and you could land sideways down the ramp. So it's very technical, but, he absolutely nailed it, got out in front, and as soon as he exited that first upstream, I knew he had it. Yeah.
Yeah. The commentary was hilarious, because they thought they were really cool. They went, hey, let's give him the nickname The Butcher. That's a great one to go with. And as I was saying to when I was talking to one of the other announcers yesterday, it's a great sporting moment when all the co-commentator can think of to say is in the middle of it. That was a word that he that he tried to use. So you look at Finn and you look at the others coming through. It's like, does the sport, you feel like, okay, I'm leaving this with a pretty good ship of people coming through?
100%. It's in good hands with Finn at the helm, and he'll inspire the next generation of paddlers to come through. And I hope to see more Olympic medals from canoe slalom.
So there's not many days of this Olympics left. And for you, you've just said it's your last Olympic campaign for you. What are you going to do to savour these last few days in it? Because this is the time to do it, right?
It is, but actually, to be honest, it's not glamorous. It was 9 p.m. last night, and I was driving the van down to the course to collect my kayaks, and we spent most of the day just clearing out our team room at the course. So, I leave tomorrow, but I'll leave with so many special memories from our team and from this whole Olympic experience. And, there's that team behind the team, which is so special, the people that, work tirelessly for us to go out and do what we do, and, full credit to them.
Where is your medal? Because so many ones go, it's in a sock drawer somewhere. Please tell me that your silver medal is, from Rio, is displayed somewhere for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's at my nana's house, because she thought that she could take better care of it than I.
And that was Luca Jones down at New Zealand House in Paris, catching up with Nathan Rarere. So what a performer she has been over a long period in the kayak slalom. And some more kayak. We need more kayak, don't we? We haven't had enough kayak today, so let's stick with the kayak. This is a really nice chat. Tuva'a Clifton is from Auckland, but he's competing for Samoa at the Olympic Games, him and his sister. He caught up with Corin Dan on Morning Report about their racing coming up.
The journey sort of started back over a year ago in the Kayak World Championships in Germany, which you sort of have to compete at if you are wanting to look at competing at the Olympics. So I sort of started doing that. That was about August last year in Duisburg in Germany. And I've been sort of training throughout the past year. In February, I had the Oceania Championships over in Penrith in Sydney. And that's where me and also my younger sister, Samalulu, qualified our spots to be in the Paris Olympics. So yeah, we're really excited to be here.
You have competed before. What is your expectation this time around? Last time it was a bit of a learning exercise, I imagine. Your hopes for this event?
Yes, my first Olympics was Tokyo, which was quite a different experience, I would say. Not only being my first Olympics, but just the whole COVID element to it. No crowds, social distancing, mask wearing, and on top of that, it was my first sort of world stage competition. So I've had a few more years under my belt since then. So I'm looking forward to getting out there tonight, your time, tomorrow, my time, to race for Samoa, which will be really exciting. And I'm in the deep end with the world's best, which I'm really excited about. So I'm going to try not to fangirl over some of the other competitors that are in my heat with me, because I have grown up sort of watching them race and being like, wow, those guys are amazing, and I'm going to be on the start line with them. So it's going to be a lot of mixed emotions.
What is it like to be competing with your younger sister? I mean, that's quite special.
Yeah, it's she can really annoy me at times, but it is quite nice to have her, because I recently moved home just to sort of save on costs for this trip, and so I moved back in with my sister. So it was quite funny. We'd go to trainings together, sort of plan when we want to go gym together and things like that. So it's actually sort of helped both our trainings, working together and aiming for the Olympics together. And it's a bonus that we did manage to both qualify. So, yeah.
How did you both get into it?
Well, we originally sort of did surf lifesaving out at Muriwai Beach, because we sort of grown up out those ways, and our parents really wanted us to be safe in the water as young kids. So they were like, oh, we'll sign you up to the local surf club. And so we're like, okay. And we did that for a bit. And in surf lifesaving, there's a sport component to it, the surf sports. And part of surf sports is the surf ski, which is basically like a kayak that can go in waves. And we just really wanted to get better at that event. And so we're like, oh, we'll just join the local kayak club. And that was 12 years ago. And now kayaking's our main sport, and we're at the Olympics for kayaking, fast forward 12 years later.
Fantastic. Listen, competing for Samoa, not a massive team, I imagine, this year. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels really good to compete for Samoa, because me and my sister, we're born and raised in New Zealand, and we have our Samoan heritage on our mother's side. So it's really good in a way, it gives us an opportunity to race internationally, racing for Samoa, but it's also an opportunity to sort of get back towards our heritage, our Samoan heritage, and sort of be amongst that. By competing for Samoa, we do sort of get amongst our heritage, and everyone in Samoa watches us, and it's real special in Samoa, being only quite a small country, and a small team. Everyone is sort of staring at you like, oh, what are they going to do and how are they going to do? So, we're really excited to be competing for Samoa.
That was Tuva'a Clifton talking to Corin Dan on Morning Report. So best of luck to them. What a nice story. And I did chuckle quite heavily when he said how annoying his sister can be. I know the feeling, Tuva'a, but I haven't teamed up with my sister to get into kayak sprinting, I'll tell you that much. And let's finish up one more interview today. Nathan Rarere caught up with our high jumper, Hamish Kerr. Hamish Kerr is ranked first in the world. He's the top-ranked high jumper in the world at the minute, but it will be a tough ask in the Olympic final when he makes it. Inevitably, he'll qualify. Qualifying is tonight, New Zealand time, and then the final is on Sunday. I would expect Hamish Kerr to do very well, but he's got a pretty strong Qatari and pretty strong Italian athlete he'll be coming up against. They haven't been great this year. Hamish Kerr has been. Hopefully he's got something left in the tank to improve as well. But here he is talking to Nathan Rarere.
So, look, Hamish, first off, congratulations on all your successes so far and also being an Olympian here again. Tell me, mate, how do you feel this time coming into this competition? You must be confident.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, I think there's definitely different feelings from last time, that's for sure. Last time I was, a young athlete who hadn't done a huge amount of international competition, and now I'm sort of a little bit further down my journey as an athlete and spend a lot more time sort of competing against all the big competitors. So, yeah, I think that gives me a huge amount of confidence going into what should be an awesome week. We've ticked all the boxes training-wise and all the preparation, so it's just about going out there and just enjoying what comes off the end of that.
I want to get into your preparation team soon, but first off, you would know this field really well from Diamond League events, wouldn't you?
Yes, yes, I do.
So, and I'm just wondering, when you guys go around, because I noticed when Tom Walsh talks about the other shot putters, like they seem like this travelling circus of giant humans. You guys, do the jumpers hang out together, and does it sort of change things when you get to something like the Olympics?
Yeah, look, I mean, we definitely don't have the camaraderie that shot putters have. Probably more for the fact that we probably drink quite a few less beers than them. But I think that's just a high jump thing. So no, I think when we're out there and when we're competing for the most part of the year, it is a real kind of like cool environment to be a part of, and we're all good mates. But I've definitely sensed, especially in the last couple of competitions, that's sort of starting to become a little bit more isolated, and rightfully so. We've got such a big competition on our hands. So yeah, I think there'll still be a few of the boys that I'll be really stoked to see and love to share it with. But I think at the same time, we all kind of know what we need to be doing, and we'll be focusing on that.
Because, one of the great things is we were actually wondering, were you a theatre kid at school? Because you know how high jump, it's quite theatrical. We get the crowd clapping with me. Here I go, and I go in to sort of get myself revved up. Was that you at school?
Yeah. Look, I'm pretty much the school kid who just never grew up. I was great at high jump when I was young, and kind of just kept on at it, which was quite cool. So yeah, I mean, I think it's also awesome for the next generation to be able to look at some of these events that typically we wouldn't have sort of perceived as something that you could have a future in our country, and now you can kind of look at not only high jump but a number of different athletic events where we've got great athletes in. And know that there's a future for everyone there. So yeah, it's a cool place to be. But I still do feel like the kid from school, and I just love that.
Well, that's great, man. But that's awesome. Actually, sorry, I'm going to ask you the most basic question here. I saw like a walrus. I was so scared of high jump at high school. I was terrified of it. Every sports day, and this is a lame question to ask, but what does it feel like to be able to soar that high? You can jump your height and then some. What does that feel like when you're up there?
Yeah, I mean, look, there is a massive mental element to it. I think that to be faced with a bar just kind of suspended in the air, 2 meters 30 plus in the air, and know that whether you do the best jump ever or the worst jump ever, the bar's going to stay up or it doesn't, and it will only count for that height. Yeah, it is quite an intense feeling, but at the same time, I think it makes it all the more special when you do clear it, and it's just around just trusting all the training we do. We jump thousands and thousands of times a year, and you just trust that and just hope that it works out.
I mentioned it earlier. I was reading before. It's quite incredible, this amazing support network that you've built around you with the likes of Terry Lomax and Anna Simsick, etc. And then you've got your meetings that take place. Tell us about that team, how you put it together, and what it does for you as a jumper.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm very lucky to have the team that I've got. I moved to Christchurch in 2018 to sort of take the sport more seriously and just give it a go while my legs and my body were still young. And I'm so stoked that I did that because, we've got such an awesome group of people down there. The team probably wasn't one that I really brought together. I was more sort of just the existing team that is based out of high performance sport there. But I think that just kind of a mix of my values and the way that I work and the way that these guys work, we've sort of stitched together a pretty cool team over the years. Yeah, I mean, look, Terry's still pretty heavily involved, not running the show anymore with Jimmy Sandilands taking over, who's my new coach. But I think at the same time, like, he's still very involved and a very valued member of the team. And I think that's sort of credit to the team that we've developed over the years as well. I mean, whether or not he's got a big role, he's still really happy to be involved and is still very valued. So I'm very lucky. I know that at the end of the day, it is me jumping and I'm the one who has to take full responsibility for whatever happens. But, it does make me sleep at night knowing that those guys are working so hard in the background and have developed what, I truly believe is a world-class program and a world-class setup. So I'm super stoked to have them.
Well, you're world-class. You're world-class too, right? I mean, it says it right there. You've got Commonwealth medals, you've got the World Athletics Indoor Champs that you won there in Glasgow in March, and people are saying, hey, he's a good shot for a medal. And I know for you probably think just clear each bar at a time, but, I mean, you strike me as someone who would welcome that pressure, right, of people saying, hey, he could medal?
Yeah, look, I think me and James and the rest of the team have been reflecting a little bit over the last few weeks, and we'll continue to well after the season finishes. But I think that's something that I've really stepped up in this year, is just being a world-class athlete. I've always had a world-class process around me and team around me, but I probably at times have been a little bit guilty of not being fully focused on all the things that I need to focus on. But I think this year I really have stepped up and have ticked those boxes. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see that the results are coming, and like you said, I've earned the pressure and I've earned the right to be on that podium, and I truly believe that that's something that I'm capable of doing. So
we're not far away from competition. How do you feel? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I've kind of only just come into the village in the last 24 hours. We had pre-camp down in Montpellier in the south of France, just to get a bit of heat and a bit of sun and just try and get as much training done as possible. But yeah, we're here now, and it's just amazing to be a part of the team and the vibe that is the Olympic Village. And yeah, I think that between now and when it's time to go on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a lot of feet up and just relaxing. But at the same time, it's going to be awesome just to support the rest of the team and just enjoy what is the coolest sports event in the world.
And that was Hamish Kerr talking to Nathan Rada there. So let's have a look at what is coming up tonight in the Olympic Games. In the golf, the women's first round, Lydia Ko is trying to complete the set. She has a bronze and a silver. She won silver in Rio, bronze in Tokyo. Can she go and get a gold this time around? Starts at 7 p.m, the women's golf. The canoe sprint, the women's K1 500 metre heats, Dame Lisa Carrington and Amy Fisher. This is one of the most anticipated events for New Zealand at the Olympic Games, because these two should end up with a 1-2 finish, and we have no idea which way around that might end up being. But they're in their 500 metre heats from 7:30 p.m. The athletics, the men's high jump qualification we were just talking about with Hamish Kerr, that's at 8:05 p.m. The women's javelin qualification, Tori Peters, from 8:25. And the men's 800 metre qualification, James Preston, at 9:55 p.m. The NACRA 17 medal race, Erica Dawson and Micah Wilkinson, I think they're in fourth heading into that, so that is at 10 p.m. Possible medal there with a good finish. The women's kite surfing, Justina Kitchen, at 10:13, and the men's kite surfing with Lucas Walton-Kime is at 10:23. In the track cycling, the men's sprint qualifying, Sam Dakin at 10:45 p.m. The women's Kieran first round, Elise Andrews, here's a good medal chance. Elise Andrews and Rebecca Petch competing from 11:26. And the women's team pursuit first round, Bryony Borter, Emily Sherman, Nicole Shields and Ellie Wollaston, they look rapid on the track. That black blur going around the track, 11:52 p.m. Keep a close watch on them. I think they will be one of the top two qualifiers and head into the gold medal round, which is exciting. The canoe sprint, if they need it, Lisa Carrington and Amy Fisher could be back on for quarterfinals at 11:30 p.m. They may be able to directly qualify for the semi-finals, so they might not actually have to race in that. Going back to the track cycling, men's sprint, if Sam Dakin can make it, from 12:30 a.m. in some of the finals that they progress in. The women's Kieran, if Elise Andrews and Rebecca Petch don't automatically qualify, the repechage is at 1:10 a.m. The men's 4,000 metre team pursuit, well, they're just in the 5th and 6th final at 4:13. Just narrowly missed out on the bronze medal final, unfortunately. And the women's team pursuit, should they make it, the gold medal final is at 5:28 a.m, the bronze medal at 5:17 a.m. tomorrow. In the diving, women's 3 metre springboard preliminary rounds, Lizzie Russell at 1 a.m. And in the athletics, the women's pole vault final, Imogen Aris, Eliza McCartney and Olivia McTaggart from 4:15 a.m. And the men's triple jump qualification, Ethan Oliver, at 5:15. So there you go. Make sure you set your alarm. There is a lot to watch overnight. We will hope for the best in the pole vault, the track cycling. I think the kayakers are going to be set up very nicely. And who knows, maybe a sailing medal. There's plenty coming on Thursday morning, folks. So do set your alarms and watch whatever tickles your fancy. I will be back again tomorrow for another episode of Paris Essentials. We drop them at 11 a.m. every day. You probably know that all by now. They're coming out tous les jours every day during the Olympic Games. So until tomorrow, à demain, au revoir.